Ladies and gentlemen, hear me when I say this. Nothing great has ever been born in the cradle of comfort. Comfort is a cocoon, and too many of us are trying to fly while clinging to the silk that keeps us stuck. You cannot soar while holding on to what feels safe. You cannot rise while guarding what God is trying to shake loose. If you want elevation, you must be willing to step into the stretch, lean into the tension, and walk into the unknown with fire in your spirit. Tonight, I came to speak to the ones who feel something shifting, those who sense a pull, a tug, a holy disruption inside their soul. You've been asking, why am I restless? Why doesn't the old thing fit me anymore? Because you have outgrown where you've been. Elevation is calling you, but it will not meet you in your comfort zone. It meets you in the place where your faith is tested, your fears are exposed, and your courage is awakened. I want you to understand that comfort is familiar, but elevation is transformational. Comfort keeps you safe, but elevation makes you strong. Comfort feels good for a moment, but elevation prepares you for your destiny. And if you are willing, just willing, to step beyond what is easy, God will take you where you never imagined you could go. Tonight, we're going to break the chains of comfort, confront the limits you've accepted, and unlock the secret to rising higher than you have ever risen before. Are you ready? Elevation begins where comfort ends, because comfort is the silent enemy of growth. It feels warm, safe, familiar, predictable, but it is also the place where dreams suffocate, potential lies dormant, and destiny is delayed. Comfort is a shelter, but it is also a ceiling. It is the invisible boundary that convinces you that where you are is good enough, even when something inside you knows you were made for more. Every person who has ever risen, evolved, or elevated had to confront this truth, staying the same costs more than the pain of change. Comfort lulls you into believing you have time, but elevation demands urgency. Comfort tells you to wait until you feel ready, but elevation calls you to move while you're trembling. Elevation requires disruption. It begins with a stirring, an inner discomfort that whispers, "You can't stay here." That stirring is not a sign that something is wrong. It is a signal that something is awakening. When God is preparing to elevate you, He often disturbs what used to satisfy you. The conversations you once enjoyed no longer feed you. The places you used to find security now feel too small. The dreams you left on the shelf begin calling your name again. You feel a stretching, a pull, a pressure that makes you wonder if you're breaking, but you're not breaking, you're becoming. The tension you feel is simply the boundary of your comfort zone asking you to stay while your destiny is asking you to move. Comfort is deceptive because it doesn't always look negative. It can be success, routine, stability, or familiarity. You can be comfortable in a job that doesn't challenge you, comfortable in relationships that no longer grow you, comfortable in habits that keep you functioning but never truly flourishing. Comfort can even disguise itself as peace, when in reality, it's stagnation dressed in calm. But elevation requires disruption of the familiar. The eagle pushes its young out of the nest, not because it is cruel, but because flying cannot be learned in comfort. Likewise, your nest, whatever it is, will become uncomfortable when your wings are needed. And here is a deeper truth: elevation always demands risk. There is no rising without letting go of something. You cannot climb while clinging. You cannot expand while holding everything the same. Something must be surrendered, shifted, released, or confronted. That is where many people stop. They want elevation without discomfort, transformation without tension, progress without pressure. But life does not work that way. Faith does not work that way. Purpose does not work that way. The place where your comfort ends is not a cliff meant to destroy you. It is a doorway demanding courage. Every next level is preceded by an unfamiliar step. When you step beyond comfort, you meet a version of yourself you have never seen before. You start discovering strengths you didn't know you had. You start realizing that fear was exaggerating the danger. You start learning that discomfort is temporary, but elevation is permanent. You begin to understand that growth happens in the stretching, not the settling. Muscles don't grow without resistance, neither do people. Every challenge that pushes you, every situation that forces you to rise, every moment that stretches your faith, these are the very moments that elevate you. So many people pray for elevation, but resist the process that produces it. They want the mountaintop without climbing. They want influence without sacrifice. They want purpose without pruning. They want to be seen without being shaped. But elevation is not an event. It is a journey of becoming. It is the refinement of character, the strengthening of spirit, the widening of vision, and the deepening of discipline. It is the willingness to walk into rooms where you don't feel qualified yet, to attempt things you've never tried before, to speak when your voice shakes, and to trust that the God who called you will equip you as you go. Elevation begins where comfort ends, because comfort teaches you nothing new. It does not ask you to think differently, believe differently, or act differently. But elevation demands all three. It requires renewed thinking, bolder believing, and courageous action. It requires breaking old patterns, challenging old narratives, and refusing to settle for the version of life that lies beneath your capacity. The truth is, elevation is not a matter of ability. It is a matter of willingness. The question is not, can you rise? The question is, are you willing to leave behind what keeps you low? The moment you decide that comfort is no longer your home is the moment your elevation begins. And once you take that first uncomfortable step, everything in your life begins to shift. Doors open, strength grows, faith deepens, vision expands. Because elevation is not just a destination, it is a decision to step out, step up, and step into who you were always meant to become. Your mindset is the engine that lifts or limits you, because everything in life begins in the unseen arena of your thoughts before it ever manifests in the visible world. You can have talent, opportunity, resources, education, connections, but if your mind is small, your life will shrink to the size of your thinking. Conversely, you can face obstacles, setbacks, lack, and uncertainty, but if your mind is strong, your life will rise to meet the strength of your inner world. The mind is the cockpit from which you navigate your destiny. It determines how high you fly, how far you travel, and how much weight you can carry. Your mindset sets your altitude long before your circumstances do. People often look outward for elevation, believing their breakthrough is locked in a job, a relationship, an opportunity, or a stroke of luck. But elevation does not start around you, it starts within you. What you believe about yourself shapes what you attempt. What you attempt shapes what you experience. What you experience shapes your future path. If your mind is filled with fear, doubt, and limitation, your life will reflect those boundaries. If your mind is fueled by faith, vision, and possibility, your life will reflect that expansion. The same situation can defeat one person and develop another, not because the situation is different, but because the way they think is different. The truth is that your mind is constantly narrating your life. It tells you what is possible, what is impossible, what you're capable of, and what you're not. If the narrative is toxic, negative, or limited, it becomes an invisible chain. You don't see the chain, but you feel it every time you try to rise. Every time you think about starting something new, the chain whispers, "Who do you think you are?" Every time you consider taking a risk, the chain says, "What if you fail?" Every time you feel a dream stirring, the chain reminds you of your past disappointments. And if you do not challenge that voice, it becomes the dictator of your destiny. But when you develop a mindset aligned with growth, purpose, and elevation, everything changes. A strong mindset doesn't mean you never feel fear. It means you don't let fear drive the vehicle. It doesn't mean you never face challenges. It means you refuse to allow challenges to shrink your belief. A powerful mindset sees obstacles as training, not termination. It sees setbacks as setups. It sees closed doors as rerouting, not rejection. It sees detours as preparation, not punishment. Your mindset determines whether you interpret life through the lens of defeat or the lens of development. The mind is powerful because it controls your perception, and your perception controls your direction. Two people can walk into the same room. One sees opportunity, the other sees intimidation. Two people can look at the same mountain. One sees a barrier, the other sees a path to greatness. Two people can encounter the same crisis. One collapses, the other becomes stronger. What changed? Not the situation, their mindset. A limited mindset shrinks life to fit its smallness. An elevated mindset stretches life to fit its greatness. And here is the deeper truth. Many never realize your mindset is not formed overnight, but it is formed daily. It is shaped by the thoughts you entertain, the voices you listen to, the beliefs you repeat, the habits you cultivate, and the environment you immerse yourself in. Every day you are either strengthening the engine that lifts you or feeding the one that limits you. That is why mental discipline is essential. You cannot elevate with a mind full of cluttered thoughts, self-sabotaging patterns, or inherited limitations. You must challenge old beliefs that no longer serve you. You must replace the voice of fear with the voice of faith. You must stop rehearsing failure and start rehearsing possibility. Mindset is not positivity, it is intentionality. It is choosing to direct your inner world instead of letting your inner world direct you. It is choosing to speak life to yourself when everything around you feels lifeless. It is choosing to believe that you can become more even when you don't yet see the evidence. It is choosing to focus on what you can control instead of what you cannot. It is choosing to show up with strength even when the circumstances try to weaken you. A powerful mindset does not eliminate hardship, it equips you to transcend it. When your mindset is elevated, your behavior follows. You take bolder steps. You speak with more authority. You make decisions aligned with where you're going, not where you've been. You stop settling for relationships, environments, and habits that drain you. You start moving with purpose, discipline, and clarity. Elevation becomes not just something you desire, but something you expect because your thinking has aligned with your destiny. Your life can never permanently rise higher than your thoughts. If you want to elevate your world, you must elevate your mind. And the moment you do, life begins to rise to meet that new level. Closed doors are often divine redirections, not rejections, because life rarely takes us to elevation through the straight line path we imagined. We tend to see a closed door as a setback, a failure, or a sign that we're not worthy or capable. We internalize it as a personal fault, something we did wrong, or evidence that we're not enough. But in truth, many of the doors that shut in our faces were never meant to open in the first place. They were temporary structures, seasonal assignments, or limited spaces that could not contain the future God intended for us. A closed door is often a form of protection, protecting us from what we thought we wanted but could not sustain, protecting us from environments too small for our growth, or protecting us from paths that would delay our destiny rather than develop it. Closed doors redirect us because they force us to pause, reconsider, and shift direction. Without them, many of us would settle for convenience instead of purpose, familiarity instead of growth, comfort instead of calling. If every door opened the moment we knocked, we would never learn discernment, we would never learn patience, we would never learn to hear the quiet whispers of inner guidance. A closed door is not meant to discourage you, it is meant to wake you up. It challenges you to ask deeper questions. Is this truly my door? Is this really where I'm meant to be? Am I pursuing what I want or what is right for me? And in asking those questions, you begin to align with a higher path instead of a hurried one. What feels like rejection often contains hidden wisdom. Sometimes a door closes because you are growing faster than the environment around you. You are ready for more, but the space you're in cannot stretch to accommodate your next level. Other times, a door closes because it would have drained you more than it would have developed you. Some opportunities glitter, but they are traps in disguise, leading to frustration, misalignment, or stagnation. You may think you lost something valuable when that door shut, but in reality, you were being rescued from something that looked good, but was not good for you. You were being protected from lower levels disguised as higher ones. Closed doors also create movement. If a door never shut on you, you might remain in the same job, the same city, the same habit, the same relationship, long after your soul has outgrown it. It is easy to cling to what is familiar because familiarity feels safe. But safety can sabotage you if it keeps you inside a season that has already expired. Closed doors shake you loose from what no longer belongs to your future. They disrupt patterns you would have never changed on your own. They push you into territories you would have never explored voluntarily. Every great shift in life is usually preceded by some form of loss, interruption, or redirection that didn't make sense at the time. One of the greatest lies people believe is that rejection means something is wrong with them, but sometimes rejection simply means not here, not now, or not this way. The door closing is not a verdict on your worth. It is an announcement of your direction. It is guidance wrapped in disappointment. Many people look back years later and say, I'm so glad that door closed because what I have now is better than what I thought I lost. But the wisdom that hindsight provides can be embraced in the moment when you trust that closed doors have purpose. Closed doors also strengthen your resilience. They teach you how to pivot, how to adapt, how to persevere. Without them, you would not develop grit. You would not learn how to stand firm when things don't go according to plan. You would not develop the emotional and spiritual muscles required for elevation. Every closed door is a test. Will you collapse or will you course correct? Will you break down or will you break open to a new direction? Will you give up or will you rise with a deeper understanding that your path is being guided, not obstructed? Sometimes the blessing is not in the door that opens, but in the one that closes. Because the closing clarifies, it removes options you were never meant to entertain. It narrows your focus so you can pursue what is truly meant for you. It removes the noise so you can hear the call of destiny more clearly. A closed door does not mean your journey is over. It means your journey is being redirected towards something higher, greater, and more aligned with who you are becoming. When you learn to trust that every closed door carries purpose, you stop grieving what didn't open and start preparing for what's ahead. You begin to understand that elevation comes through redirection, and redirection is one of the clearest signs that something better is waiting on the other side. You rise when you align discipline with purpose, because elevation is never the result of desire alone. It is the product of consistent, intentional action directed towards something meaningful. Purpose gives you direction, but discipline gives you momentum. One tells you where to go, the other gets you there. Without purpose, discipline feels like punishment. Without discipline, purpose feels like a dream. But when the two come together, they create a force that can lift you beyond limitations, beyond excuses, and beyond anything you once thought possible. Purpose is the inner fire, the calling, the pull that whispers to you in quiet moments and nudges you when you try to settle. It is what gives meaning to your struggle and clarity to your decisions. But purpose alone is not enough. Many people know what they're called to do. Many feel the tug of destiny. Many can describe their dreams with passion and precision. But dreams that lack discipline remain fantasies. Purpose without a plan becomes frustration. You cannot rise on passion alone. You rise on the steps you are willing to take daily in the direction of what matters. Discipline is the bridge between intention and manifestation. It is the daily choice to show up, even when you don't feel inspired. It is the commitment to do what is necessary, not just what is comfortable. Discipline trains your mind, shapes your habits, and sharpens your character. It builds systems that support your purpose so that you don't rely on fleeting motivation. Motivation is emotional. Discipline is structural. Motivation comes and goes. Discipline anchors you. Motivation asks, do I feel like it today? Discipline says, I show up because my future depends on it. When you align discipline with purpose, your life begins to shift because every action you take becomes meaningful. You stop wasting energy on distractions that do not serve your growth. You stop giving time to people who drain your focus. You stop feeding habits that slow you down. You start protecting your mind, your schedule, your environment, and your emotional energy. You start making decisions based on who you want to become, not who you've been. You begin thinking long term instead of moment to moment. And this alignment creates elevation because it turns your life into a consistent upward movement. The truth is that discipline is not always enjoyable. It demands sacrifice. It asks you to delay gratification. It requires you to push through resistance, fatigue, and doubt. But elevation requires cost. No one rises by accident. No one stumbles into destiny casually. You must be willing to do the hard things that others avoid. You must be willing to train when others are sleeping. You must be willing to prepare when others are procrastinating. You must be willing to invest in yourself when others are wasting time. Discipline is the grind that unlocks the greatness hidden within you. And purpose keeps that discipline alive. Purpose reminds you why it matters. When you know why you're doing something, the difficulty does not discourage you. It strengthens you. Obstacles don't stop your progress. They refine your resolve. Resistance doesn't break you, it builds you. Discipline becomes easier because you are no longer doing it for applause, approval, or validation. You are doing it because your purpose demands it. You are doing it because there is something inside you that refuses to settle for less than what you were created for. When discipline and purpose align, you begin to develop mastery. You become excellent, not by accident, but by repetition. You build habits that support your elevation. You cultivate consistency that makes you unstoppable. You start to rise effortlessly because your life is structured for growth. People who rise are not lucky. They are intentional. They live with clarity. They move with conviction. They protect their progress. They build routines that elevate them instead of routines that exhaust them. Alignment also brings peace. There is something deeply powerful about waking up each day knowing that your actions reflect your calling. There is a calm confidence that comes from living in integrity with your purpose. You stop living in internal conflict. Your choices match your values. Your habits match your goals. Your life matches your vision. This harmony creates momentum, and momentum creates elevation. Ultimately, discipline is how you honor your purpose. It is how you show gratitude for the gifts within you. It is how you transform potential into power. When you align discipline with purpose, you don't just rise, you evolve. You expand, you step into new levels of strength, clarity, and influence. You become the version of yourself capable of carrying the destiny you desire. And once you learn to live this way, elevation is no longer an occasional experience. It becomes your lifestyle. Elevation requires pruning, letting go to go up. Because growth is not only about what you gain, but also about what you release. Many people desire elevation, but resist the shedding that comes with it. They want expansion without elimination, promotion without separation, and increase without interruption. Yet every season of elevation demands that something be trimmed, refined, or removed. Just as a gardener cuts away branches to help a tree grow stronger and bear more fruit, life will require you to surrender certain habits, relationships, beliefs, and environments so your potential can thrive. Pruning is not punishment, it is preparation. It clears the clutter that competes with your destiny. It breaks attachments that limit your movement. It creates space for the new level you're stepping into. Letting go can be uncomfortable because we often become attached to what is familiar. We cling to people who once supported us, routines that once stabilized us, and mindsets that once protected us. But what once served you may now be restricting you. What once was necessary may now be unnecessary. You cannot rise if you're carrying dead weight. Some branches in your life are no longer producing fruit. Some friendships drain you. Some habits weaken you. Some perspectives keep you stuck. Elevation requires the courage to release what can't go with you to the next level. This is often the hardest part because pruning feels like loss at first. But what you perceive as loss is really liberation. It is the removal of what blocks your growth. Pruning is also intentional. It requires discernment, knowing the difference between what is seasonal and what is permanent, what is supportive and what is corrosive, what is growing and what is dying. Not everything you're attached to is meant to be cut, but everything that hinders your elevation must be addressed. Some things don't need to be thrown away. They just need to be repositioned. Some relationships need boundaries, not endings. Some habits need moderation, not elimination. But some things truly must go. Part of elevation is learning to identify what no longer aligns with your purpose and having the strength to let it fall away. And pruning is not always external. Sometimes it is internal. You may need to prune fear, self-doubt, negative thinking, or limiting beliefs. You may need to prune the voice in your head that tells you you're not enough. You may need to prune impatience, procrastination, or the tendency to sabotage your own progress. Internal pruning is often the most transformative because it shifts who you are at the core. When you let go of old patterns, you make room for new levels of confidence, clarity, discipline, and faith. You create emotional and mental space for growth. Elevation cannot coexist with inner clutter. Another truth about pruning is that it is strategic and seasonal. Not every season of your life requires pruning, but every elevation season does. Before God promotes you, He prepares you. Before He expands you, He trims you. Before He increases your capacity, He removes what is unnecessary. This is why people experience tension, loss, or disruption right before a breakthrough. They are being pruned for elevation. What looks like things falling apart is actually alignment happening. What looks like subtraction is really multiplication in disguise. You may feel the sting of cutting, but you will later experience the strength of growth. Pruning also teaches you trust. It teaches you to release without needing full understanding. It forces you to believe that what is being removed is not essential to your future. It invites you to walk by faith instead of by fear. You begin to understand that letting go is not losing, it is leveling up. Every time you surrender something that no longer serves you, you rise a little higher. Every time you detach from what drains you, you gain energy for what sustains you. Every time you allow something dead to fall away, something alive can take its place. Elevation flows through open hands, not clenched fists. When you embrace pruning, you begin to see that letting go is not about weakness. It's about wisdom. It's about protecting your purpose, honoring your growth, and choosing your future over your comfort. It's about acknowledging that you cannot carry everything with you into the next season. It's about recognizing that some connections, patterns, or environments fit the old version of you, not the elevated one. Pruning frees you to move lightly, live intentionally, and rise powerfully. Ultimately, elevation requires pruning because you cannot step into greater while holding on to lesser. You cannot receive new blessings while clinging to old burdens. You cannot embody who you are becoming while protecting who you used to be. The secret to rising is releasing. And once you learn to let go without fear, you will discover that every cut was cutting you free. Every surrender was strengthening your wings. Every release was raising your elevation. As we come to the close of this message, hear me clearly. Elevation is not accidental. It's intentional, it's spiritual, and it's deeply personal. Everything we've explored, stepping beyond comfort, shaping your mindset, trusting divine redirection, aligning discipline with purpose, and embracing the pruning process are not separate ideas. They are the 5 pillars that build a life that rises. Elevation begins where comfort ends because you cannot grow in a place designed only to keep you safe. It requires a mindset that refuses to shrink in the face of challenge and instead expands with faith, vision, and possibility. It demands the wisdom to recognize that closed doors are not your enemy, but your guide, redirecting you toward places designed to hold your destiny. Elevation calls for discipline, the daily commitment to build a life that matches your purpose rather than contradicts it. And it requires pruning, the courage to release what cannot go with you so you are free to rise without unnecessary weight. This journey is not easy. It will stretch you, challenge you, and confront every part of you that is tempted to settle, but elevation was never meant for the faint of heart. It was meant for the willing, the brave, the aligned, the surrendered. You don't elevate by chance. You elevate by choice. You elevate by trusting that the discomfort has purpose, that the process has wisdom, that the redirection has timing, that the discipline has reward, and that the pruning has power. So tonight, I declare over you, you are ready to rise higher than you've ever risen, ready to step into rooms you once felt unqualified for, ready to break cycles that once held you down, ready to walk in identity, clarity, and courage, ready to release what no longer serves you, ready to align with the version of you that your destiny has been waiting for. Your elevation begins now, not tomorrow, not when conditions are perfect, not when fear disappears. Now, because the moment you choose to step beyond comfort, shift your mindset, trust the closed doors, discipline your journey, and release what holds you back, your life ignites. Walk out of this moment knowing that elevation is your portion, your calling, and your next chapter. Rise with intention, rise with faith, rise with fire, and watch how every step you take upward transforms not just your journey, but the very person you are becoming. Your elevation is already in motion. Now go live it.